The inner glass on our Whirlpool oven has broken. I don't know why. Perhaps just from shutting this. If there's a deep frying pan with a handle, it might pop onto the glass and create a little bit of breakage. But I think that's what happens. So inside it's all broken now. Okay, so I've got a replacement, and I'll show you how to replace this. The first thing, you do need to take the door off because there are screws in the bottom of the door that you need to relieve. So just a flathead screwdriver, just pop it in the corner. I'll zoom in a bit here. You just pop the flathead in the edge and pull forward, and that relieves the hinge, and do that on the other side. Is it going? Is it going? So I've already taken this door off, but what you do is, it requires a bit of force. What you do is push the door up until it gets to the notch, the stop, and then you have to do this very firmly. You need to just pull each on one side, and you have to be a little rough, and just it'll eventually yank out, and then repeat that. Lay down a towel like I've done, or carpet or something, but you don't want to scratch up your work surface. So Phillips head screwdriver. What I'm going to do is break down this whole top because it's quite dirty, and I want to clean everything out. So there are ways, and your videos you can watch where they just lift up one side of the door and then slide the new glass. And you could do that. I'm just going to do the whole thing. So first I'm going to take and this is the inside bottom. So the cover on the outside is stainless steel here, and it attaches mainly on the bottom by by two screws, one on each side. So remove those. These screws are all different sizes, and some have self-tapping threads, some are machined. I would take pictures or label them very carefully so you get the right screw going back into the right hole. These are the two screws at the very bottom. And carefully lift the door up and reverse it so that you can see the top screws. There's one on each side, so remove those. There are the two screws in the top, so they've got a little washer built into it. Lay the door flat so the bottom is facing you, and then remove those two screws. These screws down here hold the hinge in place. We'll do those later. Those are the screws from the inside of the door, and they appear to be the same as the ones on the top of the door. All right, remove the third and fourth screws from the left and right hand side of the panel. Then the outside door, the stainless steel door, is connected to the inner door with these clamps down here at the bottom. Remove those two, or the single screw from each, and then this will just pop off. These screws all appear to be similar except for the first two that I spoke, or that I removed. And then this unit, the inside door should lift off. Okay? And then you might have to just grab wherever you can grab, but I lifted from the bottom, and the door came off the two hinges and the frame, and it's all looking good. Right, I carefully grabbed each side. I grabbed the outer and inner panel and lifted the lid or door upside down, and then at that point the lid, the lid of the door will come off. Right there, I've just stood the outer door up on the inside, and there's a pane of glass there too. All right, then this is just to keep things in perspective. This is this would be the top of the unit, and Whirlpool stamps these shrouds here with up and up. This whole unit, there's a unit with a pane of glass in the middle that needs to come out, and that will expose the glass which is broken, which is the glass that is closest to the inside heat of the oven. And what I had to do was remove 3 screws from this lower shroud, and I removed the shroud. You probably don't even need to do that, but I'm going to do it anyways. Place that aside, and then I removed the screws from the top shroud, because the whole unit just wouldn't pop out as one. It's manufactured, I think, just to lay in there without being able to just drop out. And then what that does, it gives you enough play, enough room to actually wiggle the entire plate around. So I wiggled it around until I was able to pull the whole thing out. All right, and there's the entire unit removed. Okay, and I noticed that there's some fiberglass insulation. Maybe not fiberglass, but there's insulation on the inside. So just be careful when you pull it out to not tear anything. All right, there's the door removed. This is pretty gunky in here, so I'm gonna clean all that out. All right, I've removed the the outer door and middle lid, I guess, or panel. This is the inside panel here. This is the insulation I spoke of, and I'm replacing the glass that would go here. This is what broke on my unit. So I've actually taken this out. This thing was incredibly dirty on the inside. On the outside of the perspective here, that's the face that that is closest to the heat on the inside, and it was filthy. So one of the good things about these DIY projects is you can clean all the nooks and crannies and get a really good job done. So what I'm going to do now is put the glass, lay it on the inside here, put the insulation on top of the glass, and then replace the inner cover. I've got the glass in. One note, this is the last time you'll have access to the inside part of the glass. I gave mine a nice wash with soap and warm water and then dried it off completely. You don't want a blemish, staring at a blemish all the time. I also just want to point out that there are, in fact, 3 panes of glass on this unit. There's one on the outer door, right, which faces the kitchen. There's a middle pane of glass, and then there's the glass that that is on the innermost side of the door. So when I didn't realize there was an inner panel. When I took the door apart, I thought, oh no, please let me have purchased the correct panel. And I did. Okay, so just word of warning, just make sure you're buying the proper glass. So I laid the glass, it's not mounted or anything, it's going to be held in place by pressure. So it just lays so that there's an even amount of glass around the frame, and just get it in there as nicely as you can. Then the other panels are going to press on top and keep it in place. A little update. So I took this middle panel out, and there was a lot of broken glass in there, and the inside looked really gunky and dirty. So what I did is I took the main inner piece of glass off. So what I did was I unscrewed, that, and there's another screw on the other end. This piece then came back a little bit, and the glass, which was in here, was slotted into this panel here. It then popped out, and of course be super gentle with this. You don't want to break your glass and wait another couple of weeks for your part. So I removed all these carefully. I cleaned everything. Once I had this glass out, I turned this panel over upside down, and I got all the gunk out of the other side as well. There is another piece of glass in the base here, and I was able to kind of get all the little shards of glass out and everything. Reattaching the middle panel to compress the glass. So let me just lift this up a little bit. Okay, so there's the middle panel, and note that I've taken the stainless steel mounting brackets off. I've removed the glass, and you need to do this because the inside of the middle panel has these tabs around the edge, okay, and the tabs are what marry up with the glass to keep it in place. And then so there's a tab like here, right there. So that tab will keep the glass compressed like that one. And then you'll want to get the glass squared off around the rectangle, the cutout, and then make sure to pull the insulation, pull it back as far as you can, because you don't want it crimped between the inner layer and the glass. All right, getting near the end. First thing, I don't install the mounting brackets, meaning don't screw the mounting brackets back in, and then try to put this whole inner lid into the frame. It won't work. It just won't fit. So keep these loose, and then get the glass fit in, and then screw everything in. Also, you'll note that IKEA, Whirlpool actually, they're smart. This is the bottom of the door, and the word up, and the word up, because you could put this in backwards, right? And I don't know that it would affect the operation of the oven, but I think there's a reason for the glass being mounted the way it is, so just do it the way they say. All right, doing the final assembly. With the door is going to fit on here. Okay, so this is the front of the door, and the back is the glass that I just purchased. So the first screws you're going to put in are these 4 screws, and this is this inner cover that I can lift up. This middle layer, I should call it, this connects to the inner cover through these 4 screws. Now, one thing that you can't tell this from the outside, but I now know it, is that the top screws are tapped, and they'll take a threaded a screw, of course, threaded screw. The hinge is what mounts the bottom bolts. Okay, so when you put the hinge back in, it'll pop through, and then there's the bottom 2 screws are not tapped. Okay, so sorry, the bottom 2 holes are not tapped. So when you put the hinge in, it is tapped, and when you then put the screw this way, it'll enter the hinge and seal the unit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this upside down now. All right, then the last steps of the reassembly. So I grabbed both edges and gently flipped it over so I could see the holes that I took the screws out of before. The hinges are not back in place yet, by the way, so go ahead now and put all the level screws here, put those back in. All right, there's the hinge in place, and I haven't screwed it, but you can see the holes, so the screw will go through those 2 holes, 2 layers, and then into the hinge to lock it down. All right, I got the hinges in. A little tip, I would recommend that you put the top screws in first, and then that will get the alignment on the bottom much easier for you. And then just to confirm the glass is nice and solid. It is. It's all locked in. There's no give. And I reversed the unit. This is the top of the front of the lid, and I'm doing that because I'm going to screw back in the screws in the top. Remember from the very beginning, there are 2 tabs on each side of the lid, and they fit inside. They fit inside, so not on the outside. All right, just replacing these brackets. There's a threaded tapped hole right there, at the right hand corner of the bracket. So just line the hole up with the hole in the bracket with the hole in the unit, and then you'll be able to reattach the screw. And then lastly, these last 2 screws that mount keep the hinge nice and tight. Then just reposition the hinges back into the oven, and then those slide right in. Lock off the hinge locks. Use a screwdriver. I'm just using my fingers, and you're in good shape. All right, good luck, guys.